Tonight on Joy News Prime, Fix the Country conveners argue why their planned demonstration this Sunday against economic difficulties should go ahead despite concerns by the police. The march violates COVID-19 restrictions.
For now, this is not a time to do so because of the imposition on restrictions, especially on public gatherings.
That was as police speaking early this week, and it appears they stood their ground and have obtained a restraining order against the march. Tonight we ask if that will be enough to stop the protest. General Secretary of the opposition, NDC Johnson Ketia, cites the high cost of running for office in Ghana as a root cause of corruption.
The cost of getting elected to any position in Ghana has increased to intolerable levels, and that is the root cause of corruption.
National Road Safety Authority warns drivers who flout traffic regulations could be banned as it moves to curb the increasing deaths from road crashes.
If we are able to keep the transport operators under control, I am certain that the numbers related to commercial passenger transport operations will see a very significant improvement.
In business, Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, calls for scrapping of petroleum levies, describing the introduction as poor timing, which may worsen post-COVID-19 recovery plans.
We are talking about margins that cumulatively generate between 3.5 and 4 billion Ghana cedis annually. And nobody cares to even account for those margins.
Islamic Medical Association of Ghana challenges authorities at Wesley Girls High School to provide evidence that fasting during Ramadan is detrimental to one's health.
Wesley Girls, the Methodist Church, including their past students, where did they get their facts from? So far, they've not adduced a single evidence to that claim.
The Methodist Church is, however, standing by its objection to a directive from the GS instructing schools to allow Muslim students to fast. My name is Israel, and Joy News Prime is coming to you live from Afanofa Studios at Kokomlimli here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air, and also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is a home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Do stay tuned in. The Ghana Police Service has secured a restraining order against the planned demonstration this Sunday by the Fix the Country movement. The statement announcing the order comes on the back of a meeting between the group and top government officials, including the Ministers of Defense, Interior, National Security, Finance, Foreign Affairs, and the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, as well as other senior government officials, at which the police is said to have cited the current restrictions on public gathering for their inability to provide security for the march. The statement from the police reads: The High Court under Justice Ruby Ayete has restrained conveners of the Fix the Country protest march from embarking on a planned demonstration slated for Sunday, 9th May 2021, or any other date until the restriction on public gathering is lifted. The restraining order follows an affidavit filed by the police against conveners of the Fix the Country protest march pursuant to Section 16 of the Public Order Act 1994-491. The Accra Regional Police Command is hereby drawing the attention of the general public, especially organizers or conveners of Fix the Country protest march, that the associates, officers, agents, assigns and workmen to the restriction order and compliance. A copy of the order is attached. It is signed by Efia Tenge, who's the Deputy Superintendent of Police and the Head Public Affairs Unit of the Accra region. Now, Joy News has intercepted a copy of the letter the group sent to the police after the police said they were not going to provide security for them and could potentially seek a court order against the demonstration. My colleague Kweku Asante joins me with a copy of this letter. Hello, Kweku. So I'd want you to take us through this letter that the group sent to the police and some of the highlights in there and why they argue that this demonstration should go ahead nonetheless.
Right, so according to this letter that was addressed to the Accra Regional Police Command, these protesters are saying that they cannot accept, and I'm quoting, we cannot accept the instrument that the instrument provides the police with the authority to deny requests for the exercise of rights under Article 21D and F of the 1992 Constitution on the basis of the stated reasons. In the interest of fairness, we have strenuously tried to find any other legal instrument, including acts of parliament, executive instruments, which perhaps purport to grant the police the power to deny requests for the exercise of the rights under Article 21D and F of the Constitution, despite the clear instruction from the Supreme Court. And so they continue that there's an EI 395, which is the imposition of restriction that has been imposed by the president. According to that EI, the public gatherings that have been banned include beaches, festivals, pubs and bars, including hotels, funerals, cinemas and movie houses, nightclubs, large political gatherings and rallies. They say that, however, being aware of the purpose, legislative history, and the gloss that is inconsistent with the application that has been written onto it, we are unable to agree that the expression large political gatherings and rallies applies to the proposed march. The planned march is not a political gathering or rally, and therefore would not have come within the ambit of the restrictions imposed. Regarding this purpose, legislative history and the gloss that is inconsistent in the application that has been written in it, we note that it is clearly from its adoption, the part on political gatherings and rallies was targeted at the same rallies and gatherings by political parties which were held with impunity throughout the country sometime around December 2020. And so they are saying that this imposition of restrictions does not apply to them. But Israel, they make other very, very important reasons. They say, for instance, that we note, however, that throughout December 2020, political parties exercise their rights under the same constitutional articles, reference Article 21D and F, to hold massive political gatherings and rallies. Yet the EI was not applied or understood to apply to them. What we understand by government's own action is that through its application of EI 395, this does not apply to them. They go on to say that according to the information minister and the Ghana Health Service boss, the political gatherings that were held prior to 2020 election did not contribute to the surge in coronavirus cases, and so they do not think that this rally or this gathering that they want to hold will contribute to that. And actually, if you permit me, let me quote what they say. They say that, for instance, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, has made it clear that there is no evidence that open-air gatherings cause or contribute to the COVID-19 numbers. In the words of the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, quote, the political rallies happen in the open air where there is proper ventilation. In such situations, the risk of infection is low, and they attach a link to that. Israel.
Kweku Asante with that letter from the conveners of the Fix the Country demonstration, which has been slated for this Sunday. We've also been joined by Hadi Yakubu of the Comic Fighters League, who are part of this movement. Thank you very much, Mr. Yakubu. I'm sure you'd have become aware of this restraining order secured by the police against this march. Is it safe to say your march will be put on hold in compliance with the order?
Yeah, thank you very much, Israel.
Yes.
And good evening to you and good evening to your numerous listeners. Yeah, we've received the restraining order from the court, and we have made some statements that, yes, we've received the restraining order, and as law-abiding citizens, we take notice of it and we abide by it. But that does not mean that we are going to allow any of these maneuverings by the powers that be to prevent us from exercising our right. And as you know...
All right, but in one breath, you just indicated that you are complying with it as law-abiding citizens, but then you're also saying that you're not going to allow it to curtail your movement. Please explain.
Yes. So the reason for saying that is that there are other avenues that that are also open to us,
such as
in the Republic, to for instance, we can apply to the court, exercise our own right in that regard to set aside this injunction. So as I said earlier, there is no intention to defy a court order as law-abiding citizens, but there are so many other ways that we intend to make clear to the public in the coming hours, this evening and tomorrow morning. But you see, Israel, we need to be very clear that this has been in the works. We've seen several efforts since this protest, on social media began. Several efforts to curtail the movement of the people towards a certain converging point that amplifies their frustrations and makes their demands louder than the noises that are in the system. For instance, first of all, when the Fix the Country hashtag started trending for days, we saw that hashtag that came out saying that we should fix ourselves. So fix yourself hashtag. That was, I think, the very first attempt to derail this genuine movement towards young people's aspirations to see a better society. Then came, all manner of shenanigans, including forging even letters. This afternoon, somebody forged a statement on our letterhead saying that we had dissociated ourselves from the organizers of the movement, because we said that we do not say that it was a fake thing. Then first of they came with some other forged budget, claiming that it was. So these are, and then they called a meeting to go and meet the IGP, which they then diverted to Ministry of National Security to try and get us to back down. And when all these didn't work, that was when they then went to court. On our blind side, you would notice that this court
was an ex-parte motion.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, one of the arguments that our lawyers...
You've also indicated that you intend to go to court to set this aside. But I want to find out what happens if all else fails.
Israel, the people have so many ways to express their disgust as a system. We do not think that even the court has the right to perpetually take away
but once the court rules, once the court rules, you really don't have a choice, do you?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the court itself is aware of the limitations of its powers to perpetually curtail the right, inherent right of the people.
In other words, even if it's not allowed on Sunday, you intend to hold it subsequently?
We intend to hold several ways, several protests, not necessarily demonstrations. There are so many ways that protests can be done in Israel, and discussions are ongoing, and we'll come out with the next steps. But one last thing I would just like to say is that, you see, Kwame Nkrumah said that people, when change is long denied, or the rights of the people are suppressed to the extent where they can no longer bottle it up, they've had it to the neck, then things start to happen that people cannot control. So in order for us not to get there, it is important for our people, our leaders, to take notice and allow the young people of this country to begin to shape the destiny of this country for the society. They will be gone very soon. We will be there to face the consequences of their actions.
Noted.
And we will not allow them to destroy our future for us.
Noted, Hadi Yakubu. Now, legal practitioner and host of Newsfile, Samson Ladi Ayenini, joins me with his thoughts on the restraining order obtained by the police and the options available to the conveners of the demonstration. Thank you very much, Samson, for joining us. Now, what do you make of this restraining order?
Standard practice, the law allows for one party in a pending matter to go to court and seek by way of ex parte injunction that is going on the blind side of the other party to seek an injunction order against them. In the Public Order Act, which regulates public events, including demonstrations, special events, including demonstrations, it is specifically provided that if the 5 days notification is served by organizers to the police, and the police have reason to indicate to the organizers that they are unable to provide security or protection, then the organizers have within 48 hours to get back to the police to indicate whether they will go with the police, or they will take some other step. And if that happens, and the organizers indicate that they are unable to go along with the police, then the only way for the police is to go to the court and secure an order to stop them from proceeding. Now, the court has held Justice Dennis Ajay sitting as an additional High Court judge when he was in the Court of Appeal, when Let My Vote Count Alliance were seeking to do a demonstration against the Electoral Commission for a register. The police went to court and sought and procured an injunction ex parte against them. And they challenged that injunction in the High Court. And Justice Ajay held. I'd like to read that to you and tell you the bizarre thing you are seeing in this particular injunction order.
All right.
It's very strange. It's not standard and clearly not sound and backed by law. Justice Dennis Ajay held that any action initiated ex parte under the Public Order Act is void. Void means it doesn't exist at all. It's void. And it is void as it is filed contrary to law and procedure and would constitute a breach of the rules of natural justice. It would be unfair to use an ex parte application to initiate an action whose outcome would affect the rights of other people, and once it is granted, the action terminates. Such a crude approach, I repeat, such a crude approach should not be encouraged in a democratic society, as the police in their ex parte application may depose to false information, which may persuade the court to grant the application. So Israel, standard practice is that even where ex parte applications are allowed, it is granted for a limited time. And the limited time as provided in our law is for 10 days. 10 days. Now, to have an ex parte injunction granted, even in a place where we know that by this very sound decision of Justice Dennis Ajay, an ex parte should not be entertained. Then ex parte is actually void. It's not allowed by the law in the manner that the police have been doing. for the court to grant ex parte and say that they cannot organize their intended demonstration on Sunday and not any time thereafter until and unless the restrictions on the on public gatherings are lifted. Look, the law passed by Parliament, very lousy legislation passed by them, which empowers the president to issue restrictions, is not pandemic specific. All over the world, they have passed pandemic specific legislation, which legislations die as long as the pandemic dies. This one, we have passed it as a substantive law. So it is pandemic neutral, and anybody can use it for eternity. So if you say until it is over, it means that what you are giving could actually be in perpetuity. And that is where I think that if they went back to the court, they will get the court to vacate this order, because this order does not comply with the sound principles of law as even enunciated by the Supreme Court. According to the Supreme Court, you can't grant an ex parte injunction and make the order appear as if there is no limit to the order. So this is bizarre. This is strange, and it ought not happen.
All right.
In the exercise of a democratic right. And one thing we must pay attention to is that across the globe, while they are doing impositions, the impositions do not affect the exercise of a right to demonstrate. That's why you saw people pour out on the streets in America and elsewhere, and they are not being told that there's an imposition of restriction.
Yeah, the Black Lives Matter movement.
Exactly.
All right. Now, something. So you're saying essentially that they should go to court. You're encouraging them to go to court to try and set this aside.
The only way out is to go to the court. The fact that something there's been a travesty doesn't mean that they should also use an unconstitutional and illegal means.
All right. Thank you very much, Samson Ladi Ayenini. He's a host of Newsfile. He's a legal practitioner, host of Newsfile. Now, commercial drivers are asking union leaders to fast-track the introduction of new fares to reflect hikes in fuel, spare parts, and other factors affecting the operational cost. They say the recent increment has made it difficult for them to break even, let alone earn a decent profit to take care of their families.
Media senke be dia nkabano omonti ebonuso fuwa ne bonuso no so mutuma be ma manfo mu akire mu bebere o mena ngasa tise no mu aden nipa enye djuma na donso to muti so a be bua yen na price no amla form na me en to loli fe ni so mutumu dia o mu na betuma ma yen ene atu okay sisi ade obi an me meka sample but you sure say base ye betumu a omwa beka akire ye nke ye nyane ne ye se yentumu kra na ye betumu but ye nyankan ne de yentimi ntum anukore nyame anim fu an de o mi increase a na ma bibia akosoro so that say etimira kamen ko anka fu an no ese so o mi increase.
Some Ghanaians complaining about the fuel price increases, which is one of the issues that the Fix the Country movement is trying to deal with in its planned demonstration this Sunday. Now, Vice President Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia has stressed that the remarkable track record of the Akufo-Addo government in fixing problems means the government is on course to tackle economic challenges brought about by the effects of the coronavirus on world economies. Now, we're joined on the line now by Gideon Waku, who's the economic advisor to the Vice President, and hopefully we're going to get some responses from him as far as the Fix the Country demonstration is going on and the complaints that have come up. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us, Dr. Waku. So, you've heard the complaints of the Fix the Country demonstration. What is the Vice President's response to all of this? Because he's come up strongly in all the conversations.
Well, I think you've read what the Vice President put out today. Basically agreeing that, in effect, people are suffering, and the issue of hardship is something that is not a new story to all of us. Day in, day out, people have different expectations, and expectations keep growing day by day. And in as much as we don't have the totality of our expectations met, we may express some misgivings or react to our present situation and sometimes question it as having been going through some level of hardships. It is not in the interest of anybody for government to downplay the genuine cause and complaints by the citizenry that indeed they are going through some hardships. Government appreciates that position.
Yes, Dr. Gideon Baku, you indicate that the Vice President is aware that people are suffering, but yes, this is the suffering that the Vice President, together with the President, or the then candidate, Akufo-Addo, came in or promised to address, which is why they were voted into power in 2016.
Yes, I was making a point, and what we shouldn't lose sight of is that sufferings have always been with us. We will experience suffering. It does not mean that a government should sit down and say that because it's an old age problem, we wouldn't do anything about it. That is why the information the Vice President put out suggested that yes, indeed, we acknowledge the fact that there are suffering, but these are the things that we have been doing or have done to mitigate the suffering of the people. And you need to go through them one by one, and you realize that indeed some efforts have been put in place to make sure that the sufferings and the hardships that Ghanaians used to face are brought down. It does not in any way suggest that the measures or the things that government has done, we've been able to wipe off all the hardships of everybody in this country. We are not saying that, far from that. But what we are saying is that we appreciate and acknowledge the fact that indeed some people may be going through hardships, of which all of us, depending on our expectations that are met or not met, we may indicate that we are in some level of hardships. They are in different forms. But these are the interventions we are doing to mitigate those suffering, and going forward also, these are the things that we intend to do. That is basically what we're talking about. Nobody is trivializing the matter. Nobody is saying that people are not suffering. But in the midst of the suffering, what has government been able to do, or what is government doing to make sure that the sufferings are brought to the barest minimum? And some of the things that government have been doing are the things that the Vice President put out.
All right. Now, Dr. Gideon Baku, I want to make reference to something that the Vice President said in the Facebook post, which we're going to be sharing with you right about now. So it goes, we are 4 months into our 4-year mandate. The job of government is to fix problems. Now, 4 months into a 4-year mandate fails to acknowledge the fact that there's been some 4 years already since 2016.
That cannot be right. What we need to understand is that President Akufo-Addo was given the first 4-year mandate and has been given another 4-year mandate. So
and the complaints of the people is not restricted to the first 4 months of
Don't simplify it in that context. What the Vice President was trying to say is that we are talking about the 4-year mandate of President Akufo-Addo that we are in now, and we are 4 months into that. He is not in any way saying that President Akufo-Addo has not been in power for the past 4 years. He hasn't said that. If anybody is talking about the mandate, the current mandate of President Akufo-Addo, it is right for anybody to say that he's 4 months into that. Everybody knows that President Akufo-Addo has been the president since 2017. First term, second term, put everything together, it makes 8 years. But the next or the second term, which is the next 4 years, 4 months into that. It does not in any way suggest that we should decouple the previous 4 years from what is happening now. That is even not the most important thing. The most important thing is that government acknowledges that genuinely there are people who have unmet expectations, okay? And what have we done or can we do to make sure that as we move forward, all those who have unmet expectations would be met some way? It is not easy for a government to be able to solve the problems of everybody. And I don't think that is what we, the citizenry, we have been trying to call for. We know that government may not be able to solve all our problems, but we want government to do the right thing, such that some of the basic problems that we encounter on a daily basis, we will see them being solved, or the expectation of them being solved. There will be some indication to that effect. That is what Ghanaians want.
All right.
And I think that is a genuine concern. That is why government is saying that, yes, we are working at them to fix them. But in the meantime, these are the steps that we have taken that we think are very good steps and meet the problems halfway. And going forward, these are the things that we're going to do to make sure that we bring the problems, bring solutions to the problem. That is basically what we're talking about.
All right, Dr. Gideon Boako, yes, you've indicated that government is taking some steps, but from all indications and from what the Fix the Country movement is talking about and per their demonstration, it appears that what government is doing is not being acknowledged by the people, or it's not good enough for the people, as far as the people are concerned.
It's fair for anybody who has unmet expectations to say that he or she is not satisfied with what is happening. But the truism is also that government is committed to do what it has to do to solve the problems, and we are doing that. What we shouldn't forget also is that the coronavirus has its own ravages that is caused to the continent, to the whole world, and everybody seems to be suffering from that. The scourge of the coronavirus is something that has affected almost every nation. And if you listen to the complaints people are making now, we're talking about increases in prices of cement, some imported goods and all of that. Things that hitherto, prior to 2020, we wouldn't have complained about them the way we are complaining now. We are complaining now ostensibly because the effects of coronavirus have had a big dent in the hardships that we are experiencing today. And we cannot also say as a government that because of coronavirus and its concomitant effects on the livelihoods and lives of the people, we should throw our hands in despair to say that we cannot do anything about it. Government is voted to solve problems, self-address the issues, and as and when they come, government must own up to the challenge and face them. That is why we appreciate the call for fix-it, and then we are going to fix it, and we are in the process of fixing them. We do not intend to make this a political comparison or equivalence issue, but indeed, Ghanaian people appreciate that even in the midst of the coronavirus, President Kufuor put in place some serious mitigating measures that all of us can attest to. Be that as they were, they are or were in totality able to address all the challenges that Ghanaians face. And these are some of the challenges we are talking about, challenges that have been with us since ages. Different governments, and we're still confronted with those challenges.
All right, thank you very much.
We took up the challenge.
Dr. Gideon Boako, thank you very much. We would have to move on from here, but thank you very much for making time. Dr. Gideon Boako is economic advisor to the Vice President. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead, General Secretary of the opposition NDC, Johnson Esedun Ketia, cites the high cost of running for office in Ghana as a root cause of corruption.
The cost of getting elected to any position in Ghana has increased to intolerable levels. And that is the root cause of corruption.
That coming up later. And then in business, which comes up after the break, Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, calls for scrapping of petroleum levies, describing the introduction as poor timing, which may worsen post-COVID-19 recovery plans.
We are talking about margins that cumulatively generate between 3.5 and 4 billion Ghana cedis annually. And nobody cares to even account for those margins.
Stay tuned in, we'll be back in a bit.
And you're welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. The timing of the introduction of petroleum levies is bad and could have an impact on post-COVID-19 recovery, making it more difficult for individuals and businesses. That's according to the African Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. According to the energy think tank's comments on the recent fuel price increases, though it acknowledges the economic context that government itself finds itself and the need to raise more money to support the national budget, it prefers efforts to raise more revenue had focused on innovative ways to harness untapped potential rather than burden those already in the tax bracket and facing significant economic challenges partly imposed by the global pandemic. Executive Director of ACEP, Benjamin Boachi, spoke earlier on Business Live.
We are talking about margins that cumulatively generate between 3.5 and 4 billion Ghana cedis annually. And nobody cares to even account for those margins for the consumer to know how much those margins have been used for the object of setting them up. We are only told to pay more when the regulators feel so. And we think that that cannot be the situation. That cannot be the case, where accountability for such huge sums of money is totally missing. And we can go further to even look at the specifics, okay? What these margins are meant for, the UPPF, the bust margin, and the fuel margin. Bust margin, we have been paying bust margin for decades, right? And we don't see, the company using the revenue to deliver on the object of setting up the fund. And that is to keep a reserve so that when we so critically need it, we'll be able to call on that reserve capacity. BOS doesn't have that reserve. It is important that we have a conversation on some of these levies to see how we clean up the energy sector, examine the institutions that are benefiting from these levies, and see which one is relevant, which one is not. How do we retool them for them to be efficient and waive those kind of waste from petroleum products? And even if you did that, you'll be able to use that kind of fund to engineer development, to build the roads, to provide transportation for people and all of that.
And that's been watching there. Transport consultant Cecil Gabra is pushing for a marginal increase in transport fares rather than what is being proposed. This was after a meeting between government and stakeholders to agree on the proposed 15% hike, and fares ended without a compromise. Joy Business is learning that this was due to differences by the parties on the margin of increase. Cecil Gabra, in an interview earlier on the marketplace, proposed a 5% increase in transport fares.
I think even with the 5% is fine, but the government should do something else to absorb this fuel increment. I mean, we all know we are suffering. I mean, it's all over the world that the crude oil price per barrel is still going up, but something must really be done. And I trust the government will cushion the economy by most probably looking at absorbing the increment, because this is not going to help us at all. It's going to affect businesses, and there's no pay rise. There's no pay rise in any situation. It's really, the situation is really difficult, as my good friend will say. It's becoming chaotic this very moment.
So you have painted to us a picture how dire situations are, not just in Ghana, but on the global market as well. Yesterday we saw this meeting end with, the 15% hike in fares not being approved. Of course, the Energy Ministry had to downplay that to about 8 pesos. And of course, they've maintained the current environment warrants the margin of increment. Do you agree to this particular import of concern?
Well, at the moment, it's a 50-50 concern. I mean, once the Transport owners are also asking for an increment. Government is also looking at not understanding. We should agree and then, get the economy moving. However, I am saying for a fact that if we come back and look at a situation where we have a formula for working this increment, at least twice a year, so we'll not have any meetings, and I believe that the meetings, people are going to be paid allowances and so on. That is also affecting the economy. So we'll leave it like this, but let's get the formula in place.
Now, Star 787 NLA has rewarded a businessman 20,000 cedis in just ended draw. There is more in this report.
Felix Entry, who hails from Obojo East Legon, upon receiving the 20,000 cedis prize, said the prize will be of greater good to his business. Overjoyed Felix expressed gratitude to the 787 lottery and urged all to partake in this week's Super 643,000 cedis promising jackpot.
I feel very, very, very excited at the moment. I can't really express how much happiness that is within me. Maybe if I should express it, this place will blow up. So I feel very excited. It's real, very, 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 very real. And since the day I was called, I've won. Each day, as each day goes by, I now realize and feel the realness in it until I just came to collect my check, and it's very, very, very well. It's a game, and it's a game of chance. You don't know when you can win, so you can all participate. I've won it, and it's real, so you can also win.
Head of Customer Experience, Richard Akotobanfo, at the event announced Star 787 Hash Full House Package guarantees at least a 10 cedis win in this Saturday's Super Jackpot draw.
This Saturday, we are looking at a jackpot value of 643,000 Ghana cedis. In addition to that is a guaranteed 20,000 Ghana cedis unique prize. My friend, what exactly is your worry? What is your budget in life? You can change that worry. You can end that budget just this Saturday.
And that's it for Business Sports. It's up next with Gary L. Smith. Do stay.
Gary L. Smith here with the sport on Joy News Prime. Thank you for your time. The Ghana Athletics Association has our first story, and now they've revealed that Josephine Anochi chose to train so that she could qualify for the Tokyo Olympics as an individual, contrary to media reports that she was asked to finance her travel to join Team Ghana for the World Relays. Now, you may have heard that Anochi had claimed that the athletics governing body in the country had asked her to buy her own flight ticket, and that was the reason why she decided to withdraw from the relays. But the GA, reacting for the first time since the reports, say those claims are false.
It's never true that GA asked her to buy tickets from US to Poland. It never happened, and it will never happen. Why would the GA ask an athlete to buy a ticket to represent Ghana at such a high level? Was it the only athlete who was going to compete for Ghana? We had 14-man contingent, and tickets were issued by Sports Authority for all this contingent. No one was left behind. Anochi, at first, when we contacted her, whether she is available for the competition, her first concern was that her Ghanaian passport got expired, and she had sent the passport to the Washington, D.C. for an extension, no renewal, for an extension of 1 year. So we read that a couple of athletes have also got their passport expired. I still have some. The T20 passport is here. You can show T20 passport. So we went to the passport office. We asked them to bring their passports. Those whose passport has expired, including Anochi. They were Josephine Anochi, Deborah Akwa, Emmanuel Yabua, Sean Safu Entry, and Abubakar Mohammed. All of them had biometric passport except Sean. So they gave us their data pages of their passport. So me, Osaisibe, and Abate went to passport office, played with the directors. It took her 2 days. We were able to get the passport for them. When she got the passport, she never even told her that she had gotten the passport, but we knew the passport got her. A day or two later, she sent a text message to Prof. Andrew that she wants to qualify to the Olympic Games as an individual athlete in her individual event at the 100 meters or the 200. And the time for her to go to Silesia and come back, it will affect her training. And she and the coach decided that she should drop from this one and prepare and qualify for the Olympic Games. That was what he told us officially.
Moving on to some football, and the communications director for Legon Cities FC, Kwame Jumajiman, has cleared the air on the position of the team's head coach, saying Bashir Hayford still remains the coach of the club. He spoke to Nathaniel Alato on the Sports Today earlier today.
Associated with the club, but these are very difficult times. But we are confident that in the remaining 12 matches, things will turn out well.
Well, when there are such situations, the first target will be the head coach. And this is on the part of the media, the part of the fans, and even within the club. Bashir Hayford and his future at your club is not very certain, is it?
Well, I'm not too sure where that a bit of information is coming from, because ever since I lost Kumasi as Santiago's court thing on Saturday evening, I've been seeing a lot of stories in that regard. And one of the responses that I've always given to as many media houses that I've called is that if there was going to be any decision on the future of our national team boss, that would have been communicated to the world by now. At this point, we haven't communicated that. Of course, when a manager is hired, just like in every other space, there are targets that are set for the manager. Internally, we had a lot of conversations concerning what Bashir Hayford, with all his experience, could do for the club. That's why I said, unfortunately, things have not gone according to plan. But we're still very confident that in the remaining 12 matches, we'll be able to turn things around. As to whether the manager is going to stay with us or not, like I've always said, we have not put anything out there informing anyone of any decision concerning the head coach. So at this point, Bashir Hayford still remains the head coach of Legon Cities Football Club.
Right, so in the Europa League, updates on what could or what many English fans are hoping will be an all-English final is that Arsenal are drawing 0-0 with Villarreal. So, on aggregate, it's 2-1 to the Spanish side. Roma are losing 7-2 on aggregate. That's because Edinson Cavani has scored for Manchester United and it's 1-0 on the night. That's the sport for now. Gary L. Smith. I'll be back on the other side of 8 with some more.
The General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Isiedun-Ketia, is citing the high cost of running for office in Ghana as a root cause of corruption in the country. According to him, the cost involved has spiraled to such an intolerable level that is threatening the survival of Ghana's democracy and compounding the suffering of the masses. Speaking at a consultative forum of the Department of Peace and Development Studies at the University of Cape Coast, the NDC General Secretary indicated the more the country's politics become monetized, the more merit is sacrificed. He's calling on the academic community in Ghana to undertake researches aimed at cleaning the country's politics to save Ghana's democracy. He also spoke about charlatans, he says, are parading as religious people and threatening politicians and everyone else in the country.
The General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Isiedun-Ketia, at a consultative forum organized by the Peace and Development Studies at the University of Cape Coast, indicated how monetization of Ghana's politics is destroying Ghana's democracy. He blames it on the high levels of corruption in Ghana and calls on the academic community to undertake researches and find the way.
The cost of getting elected to any position in Ghana has increased to intolerable levels. And that is the root cause of corruption. So if there is a way in which we can do more research in that field and see how we can clean our politics, it will help us to save this democracy. Because the more the politics becomes monetized, the more you sacrifice merit.
Johnson Esiedu Nketia talks about what he calls charlatans who are masquerading as religious leaders, threatening politicians and taking advantage of the vulnerable people in society.
I see a lot of charlatans emerging in our religious scene, proclaiming to be everybody. And then, you know, if you like threatening politicians, if you don't see me, you can't win. And what they are doing, we are in a country of poverty, and yet the very poor are the people who are being exploited. And then they make money, no taxes, when everybody is growing lean, they are growing fat. And they appear to be untouchable. They can make noise and get away, disturb everybody's sleep. If you talk about it, then you are the son of a devil.
He also spoke about the recruitment into the security services and describes it as rearing dangerous animals that would grow to devour the entire country soon.
Recruitment into our security services. Because you see, it is through security people, peace enforcers, and so on and so forth. But if we are not careful, and you structure your security services maybe along ethnic lines, along political lines, or along religious lines, it is better you don't have security at all, because you are nursing a lion which will come and consume all of us. It has happened in many countries where you see that security services and their bosses are predominantly either belonging to one religious sect or belonging to an ethnic group, and recruitment becomes secret. Nobody knows how recruitments are done. And so introduces indiscipline in the security, because if some big man is the one who put me there, I feel emboldened to disobey the bosses of the security.
The stakeholder consultative workshop was on the development of new academic programs in peace and security at the University of Cape Coast. Richard Kwejonya, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Now, drivers who fail to comply with road regulations risk being arrested by road inspectors hired by the National Road Safety Authority to ensure compliance with road rules. The move is to reduce crashes on our roads after 263 lives were lost in accidents in April alone, adding up to the 700 deaths between January and March. In a bid to ensure compliance with road safety rules and reduce accidents, these inspectors will be at bus terminals to clamp down on unruly drivers. But before we hear from the NRSA, the head of operations at MTTD, Dr. Samuel, is expressing worry about the accident situation.
When we view the statistics is not looking very good at all. Because what we see now is that we have done so many enforcements, we've done so many education and awareness creation exercises, but yet the speed of traffic road accident is increasing at an alarming rate. So what we have is that from January to this April, the total number of crashes that have been recorded is 5,476. That is just for this April, January to April. But when you compare it to the previous period for this point in time, we see that the traffic accident that were recorded was 4,388, and it's an increase within the period of about 25%. Now let's talk about I'm talking within the same period, from January to April this year. The persons killed, as we recognize or as we witness now, is 132. But previously, 2021, the same period, it was 737.
Regulatory Inspectorate and Compliance at the NRSA, Kwame Kudia tells us more about the inspector's jobs to ensure sanity on the road.
When you look at the new mandate of the authority, it requires that we set up a new directorate for regulations, inspections and compliance, and also recruit road safety inspectors. They are required to carry out routine inspections of road safety standards and procedures, road safety undertakings, visit premises where road safety services are being provided, go to construction sites to be sure that hazards are identified in good time and provide remedial actions. We recruited about 100 of them last year. We have taken them through a number of training and continuously training them. And they've been deployed in the regions. And part of their job, if you have monitored our social media handles in recent times, you must have seen that there are terminals trying to conduct pre-trip inspections to be sure that vehicles leaving the terminals meet certain minimum conditions and their likes. As far as construction sites are concerned, go to look at these sites to ensure that the minimum safety protocols are adhered to.
He also indicated works on a new legislative instrument that gives them the power to sanction institutions in the sector who fail to do their work to improve road safety.
Many institutions, regrettably sometimes public institutions, take a nap on their job, knowing too well that there's nobody to play an oversight of their role. That is beginning to change. We will need a full complement of our law, which we will include draft regulations going to Parliament very soon. When that kicks in, we'll be in a position to issue sanctions, which may include administrative penalties. Areas where licenses or permits have been issued, we can revoke them, go to court to get an enforcement order and their likes, just so that institutions and leadership will begin to have a new sense of appreciation.
The Islamic Medical Association of Ghana is challenging Wesley Girls High School and their old students to provide evidence that shows that fasting during the holy month of Ramadan is detrimental to one's health. Responding to a statement from the old students of the school which suggested so, the association argued that the Ramadan fast is rather beneficial to one's health. The prestigious senior high school in Cape Coast has come under immense public pressure for allegedly refusing to allow one of its students to partake in the Muslim fast, which stretches for 29 days. After the Ghana Education Service issued a directive to the school to allow the student to fast, the Methodist Church, in a sharp response, chided the authorities for the directive, followed by a statement from the old student. Speaking on Prime Morning on Joy Prime TV, however, Secretary for IMAC, Dr. Hadi Abdullah, said their position was not grounded in fact.
The Islamic type of fast, which is a form of intermittent fasting, we have tons of papers which actually shows that it is actually beneficial to humans. Even in animal studies, I've shown some benefit to animal studies. So the question we ask ourselves is, Wesley Girls talking about starvation, are they mixing starvation with fasting? Because there's a clear distinction between fasting and starvation. And as a newsman, you know very well, even in recent times in Russia, we had the opposition leader who went on a hunger strike for several days. It's not dead, you understand? We've had high-performing athletes in football in recent times, and that has actually come up. We've had Paul Pogba, who put up one of his best performances in a Man U shirt to help them beat AS Roma by 6-2. He was fasting. And we all know the energy that you need to sap when it comes to football. We've had many Premier League players playing and fast, including Serge Aurier. We, in our statement, had made it very clear. We've cited evidences, we cited papers in high impact journals, and you know what it is in the scientific world for research to be published in high impact journals. What we are asking is, where did Wesley girls, the Methodist Church, including their past students, where did they get their facts from? And so far, they've not adduced a single evidence to that claim. You know, the fact that you have a policy that you've practiced for a very long time and probably taking the right of individuals away from them and nothing happened doesn't mean that it is right.
The Methodist Church, meanwhile, says it is standing by its objection to a directive from the GS instructing schools to allow Muslim students to fast despite a backlash from the public. It follows a petition by the Ghana Muslim Students Association to the presidency to allow Muslim students to practice their faith in educational institutions without inhibitions. Insisting the church remains unruffled by opposing views, Diocesan Bishop of the Northern Accra Diocese, Right Reverend Professor Joseph Edusan Eyising, said the communique they issued clearly states their concerns. He was speaking on the sidelines of the Northern Accra Diocese 2021 Synod address.
When we met, this was it. And as I stand here now, what every minister or what the church is saying is the release that we gave some few days back. And the release is so simple. It is explanatory that there's nothing we see about that. It is so self-explanatory, and everybody reading it will understand it. That's our position.
Weighing in on the controversial LGBTQ plus rights debate, Right Reverend Professor Joseph Edusan Eyising condemned the act, insisting same-sex marriage is strictly against Christian values and must not be entertained.
Every minister at Trinity Theological Seminary, where we train our ministers, there is a course that we do, Church and Society, where we train our people how to respond to societal issues as and when they come up. And therefore, LGBTQ plus and so on and so forth, we help our people to understand, so that they can they can respond to the issues. These were also in the Bible, and so they are not novel, kind of. They are not novel. As they happen, we cross-check. So you try to educate your members not to enter into these. For example, we have said, and we stand by it, that this is unchristian, it is unbiblical, and it is immoral.
President Akufo-Addo has accepted the nomination of Kisi Jabing as Special Prosecutor and has written a letter to the Speaker of Parliament, Aban Bagbin, seeking the House's approval of the appointment. It follows the resignation from office by Martin Amidu in November last year, which vacancy created was to have been filled within 6 months. A press release communicating the acceptance of the nomination of Mr. Jabing by the President reads, actually, here's the profile of Kisi Jabing, the Special Prosecutor Nominee. He's chairman of the Electronic Communications Tribunal after taking over from Justice Dateba, who resigned from the tribunal in 2019. A managing partner of Cromwell Gray LLP, and a law lecturer at the University of Ghana School of Law since October 2006, teaching and researching into criminal law, international humanitarian law, international law, corporate law, and legal research and writing. Won the Benti Angel Prize for the best graduating student of the University of Ghana School of Law in 2001, and he proceeded to the Ghana School of Law. It was called to the Ghana Bar in October 2003, earning the Ian Soa Memorial Prize for Best Student in Family Law. He has a wide range of expertise in consulting for public sector institutions, including the Attorney General's Department, Exim Bank Ghana Limited, the Youth Employment Authority, the National Lottery Authority, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, the Ghana Trade Fair Company Limited, and the Ghana Olympic Committee. All right, so here's the statement from the presidency indicating the president's acceptance of Kissi Agyabeng's nomination as special prosecutor and seeking parliamentary approval. He is the president of the Republic. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has accepted the nomination of Mr. Kissi Agyabeng as special prosecutor and has, by letter to the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Alban Bagbin, dated 29 April 2021, sought Parliament's approval of the appointment. It will recall that President Akufo-Addo accepted the resignation from office of Mr. Martin Amidu as special prosecutor on November 16, 2020, and in accordance with Section 13(8) of the Office of Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959, is required to appoint a replacement within 6 months of the position becoming vacant. To this end, the Attorney General, Mr. Godfred Yeboah-Dame, on April 16, 2021, nominated Mr. Kissi Agyabeng under Section 13(3) of Act 959 to the President for consideration as the second occupant of the office of a special prosecutor. Having been called to the bar in October 2003, holding a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Ghana and Master of Laws degrees from Dalhousie University and Cornell Law School, being a criminal law lecturer at the Faculty of Law, University of Ghana, Legon, and also engaged in private law practice, President Akufo-Addo deems Mr. Kissi Agyabeng as being eminently qualified to become special prosecutor. The President is hopeful that Parliament will expedite the confirmation process of Mr. Kissi Agyabeng so he can assume the position without delay. Until a year ago, the Hacho-Agbogba road was a traffic-free route and provided an alternative for residents of Pantang, Oyarifa, Old Ashongman, and Agbogba who wanted to join the main highway to the central business district of Accra. But this is no longer the case, as motorists now endure traffic hours on end due to a contractor's decision not to return a 10-meter stretch of the road to its original state after cutting through to expand a bridge on the route. As my colleague Elton Broby reports, aside from causing enormous traffic during rush hour, the area has also become an accident hotspot.
It's the morning rush hour here on the Agbogba Hachu Road. Now, this road stretches all the way to Pantan, Abokobi. This particular stretch, constructed some 10 years ago, has always provided a shortcut all the way to the central business district. If you want to avoid the traffic on the Medina Road, this is your best shot. But in the last 1 year, this road has become a major traffic prone. The reason is very simple. A year ago, government decided to award a contract for the expansion of this particular bridge because until this bridge was expanded, this place had experienced a lot of flooding. So government thought it wise to allow for the expansion of this particular bridge. In the expansion of the bridge, the contractor decided to cut through this asphalted or bitumen road, which is about just 10 meters, and then to allow for unimpeded works. So this particular stretch was blocked to vehicular traffic. Now, it's been 8 months since work came to an end on the expansion of the bridge. But the effect of the construction is what we are seeing here. The contractor, in his own wisdom, it is difficult to explain, decided not to reverse the road back to its original position before the cutting to ensure the expansion of the bridge.
To 11. I had last accident because of the way rough roadway accident. Finishes Nyamenko Ankabu Kunipa, Mibatoso, V8, Lezos, or Sofu car, but I'm body. How much is that? I do with the higher power. Who touch us now say, the boys here, Nategu native faso. Traffic be bread, the beer high. Yes, I buy some more my mind. You are almost year, say, I believe you said 2 years to cry.
What Charles is telling us is that the situation here, which is as a result of the contractor's decision to cut through during the construction of the bridge, has resulted in uncontrolled traffic on this stretch. And as a driver, he has had to spend so much money repairing his vehicle.
Every morning would have to be in traffic for more than 30 minutes before crossing this part.
every morning. Why? Just this small thing over here that needs to be fixed. I mean, it's been here for almost about, yeah. And we don't understand them. What are our leaders doing to us? We appeal to them to come fix this thing. Because eventually it's going to deteriorate the entire road. So we appeal to them that they should mobile and then fix it for us.
We are suffering here. We are suffering here. Very, it's too bad. Okay, it's too bad. We need the help, please. At times, 1 hour or 2 hours, I won't lie to you, from what do you call it, Agbugba, let me say, Cemetery Junction, coming here, you can take more than 2 hours.
There's a lot of traffic on the way, and which is not good. I think the government have to do something better on the road, because there's a lot of people living here, and the traffic is too much. Sometimes you use about 2 hours before going to office, and which is bad. So I believe with this interview, I think the authority will take note of it, and they will come and do something better on this road.
Right, we're taking a break now, bringing you more business. Stay tuned in.
And you're welcome to business. A total of 140 young entrepreneurs have qualified to receive investment support to fund their businesses. This is under the Innovation, Creativity and Entrepreneurship Program by the MasterCard Foundation as well as the MBSSI. These entrepreneurs have been selected from a business pitching program organized in the various regions of the country. We have more in this report.
The Innovation, Creative and Entrepreneurship Program aims at giving training and market research ideas to beneficiaries selected from across the country by the National Board for Small-Scale Industries. The final pitching series for the entrepreneurs in the Greater Accra region involves 20 shortlisted beneficiaries, out of which 10 best performers will be picked. Greater Accra Regional Director of the NBSSI, Anthea Ohene, told Joy Business these finalists are going to be supported with funding and market access.
We have people around who are listening. We have bankers. We have some of our partners around listening to them, so that at the end of the day, the 10 that will be selected will be supported with business development services, will be supported with funding, will be supported to get access to markets. So that is the main objective of this. And we are seeing that, yes, the 20 people that we selected, the objective has been met. They are being able to express themselves. They are able to tell us more about their business ideas. And yes, there is still work to be done on them. So we will not leave them just here. We will continue to support them so their businesses get to where we want their businesses to go to.
Municipal Chief Executive for Adenta, Alexander Ninoy, believes the initiative will be a game changer for many unemployed youth in the country.
There seems to be so much unemployment in the system, but it is not because people lack ideas, but sometimes you need a platform to shape your idea. And I think if you see or you hear what is happening with the pitching, people have all kinds of ideas, but they are now trying to groom these things. And you are looking for the creativity or the innovation in what their idea is and how they situate themselves into the marketplace. And quite a number of the young or the youth are looking for tailored white-collar jobs. But there's another side of it where your idea can actually earn you an income. And that is where this Young Africa works come in.
The ICE program is aimed at creating employment for about 40,000 youth within 3 years.
Now, a performance assessment card on Ghana's energy sector conducted by the Ghana Institute of Engineering shows that challenges regarding financing and infrastructure are the cause of recent power outages. The newly elected president of the institute spoke to me on this pressing matter.
Infrastructure, energy, roads. We want to do what we did before in 2018, 2019, just before then, we wrote a report card. Now this was to give us the state of the infrastructure and the future look at it. And I was telling somebody that, in the report card, we actually said that this doom sorting that was there, we tried to explain what was the cause of it. problem. So based on a study that we did, and we said that it was a financial problem and it was an infrastructure problem. Now, fortunately, the current government came in and they tried to solve the financial problem. But the other one, it's more robust problem, and it is why now it seems to me that the light is going off, because the aged network, and we also, if you do a sensitivity analysis of your power, if you shut down this one and that one for fault, you will see that already you get to a critical point. So we believe that what we did, and government took it seriously, we know that, but now we're going to do another one. And this one we're going to do is we're going to talk about the transport system, the road network, the power, the hospitals, the ports. We're going to look at the school infrastructure and everything, about 6 or 7 different areas. And what we intend to do is that at the end of the day, we want to develop a factual report that interrogates every one of these sectors, and then based on our professional opinion, advise government that this is what the state is, this is what you can do, and if you don't do, these are the consequences.
Now, the Union of Industry, Commerce and Finance Workers Union is urging government to pursue a production-led economy to create more foreign exchange earnings and jobs for the many unemployed Ghanaians. COVID-19 has exposed most fragile economies, including Ghana, to their weaknesses. General Secretary of UNICOF, John Sananu Amegashi, tells Joy Business production-led economy is now the way to go post-COVID-19.
There had never been a fair system anywhere in the world. No human being had ever been satisfied in anything. Despite the COVID, the government is willing to engage at the tripartite level to have discussions. They might have had some meetings, but the wage level had not been announced yet for us to know whether it is satisfactory or not. In the past, yes, of course, you realize that the government being the largest employer sets the pace, so for other employers to enhance on. If we are increasing productivity, let me digress to say that we are in this situation because we are not able to produce and to export to extent of earning the expected income as expected. If we are doing that, we may not be in this situation. We are importing. It means that the little foreign exchange we have is what we are sending out and creating jobs for people outside. That is what I would want to advise the government to seriously address. Let us create the opportunity for us to produce and to export so that we can earn more from that. Other than that, we will remain in this situation thinking that what they are being paid is not enough. But it should be enough if we are able to produce.
Bring you a summary of international business news. And that's how we end business. I'm Charles Aitis. And that's it.
For the bulletin, I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching.